Alright, we are going to put these headers on the BMW E46 M3. These are cheap headers. Everybody always asks, oh, do they fit good? Are they any good? Do they do anything for performance? Well, I'm gonna try it out, see what happens. So here's the hardware for it. The inside welds look pretty good, outside look pretty good. One thing that you can possibly see is, I think one of these is a little bit in, so that might cause some fitment issues. But the plan is to see if they fit. If they do, okay. If not, then I'm planning on cutting my converters off of my stock headers and putting them back on anyways. So either way, I was gonna do this anyways. So I've done this before on my other car. I had a E46, and I kind of do know how you gotta go about it. Most of the bolts for the headers that are behind that heat shield you can get from the top. They are 11 millimeters. Some of them you have to get from the bottom. That's why I jacked it up. Got it up on jack stands on this side. This secondary air pump, I'm going to be deleting that as well. That's gonna be replaced. But to start out, to get going, you gotta pull the coolant tank. You gotta pull this secondary air pump out. Then you get to your heat shields down there, and you also gotta pull the plastic cover of the heads here. That way you can get to the wires for the O2 sensors. So I'm probably gonna start with the coolant reservoir and the secondary air pump, work my way to the valve cover, and then go down this way, and I'll keep you guys posted on what's going on. You're also going to have to drop down your metal shield down here under the engine. That's gonna have to come off too before you can get to the headers, get all the access to them. So we're gonna get going. All right, once you pull out your secondary air pump and your coolant reservoir, you get to the heat shield. There's gonna be coolant spilling, so you might want something to catch with. Here's my 10 millimeter I dropped. Of course, it's always gotta be a 10. That always gets dropped and lost. Anyways, most of the bolts of the headers you can get from the top. Some you might have to get from the bottom. That's the secondary air pump injection there used to be. I'm gonna block that off. I'm waiting on the kit to get here. It hasn't gotten here yet, so but once we get that, we'll put that in there. Other than that, there's two clips to pull the hose out, a couple 10s. This was like a 13. Yeah, couple 10s, 13, and you get most of your stuff out of it. Like, that's your heat shield, that's the injection pump, that's the secondary whatever thing, the hose, coolant reservoir, and we'll continue on. Next, I'm gonna pull the valve cover here. Just all these are just 10 millimeters. You pull those off, pull that. That way you can get to the wires. I usually like to mark the wires for the O2 sensors just to know which one goes where, and then we'll continue on to the headers. Yeah, we got the valve cover off here, and you'll see a bunch of wires and a bunch of connectors, and that's where the O2 sensor ones are. Kind of go all over the place. I usually mark them. That way you know which one goes to what. Most of them I think just fit on their own. Only one plug fits one plug. Anyways, after you get the valve cover off, I usually let this thing just sit on top of there so nothing gets in there. For right now, we're gonna go towards the bottom here, and we'll have to remove this bottom plate, the silver piece you see down there. And that way we'll have access to the headers from the top and the bottom. And we'll start pulling the screws. I put a little WD-40 on them just so they can get out easier. They're 11 millimeters. And sometimes the whole stud thing will come out with it. It won't just be the bolt. Just so you know, keep that in mind. If it takes forever to pull the bolt, it's just the whole thing's coming out. Alright, here are the headers from the bottom view. Like you can see, you can only see some of it. And all this stuff is your coolant that's spilled all over, so oh well. Anyways, one of my bolts is missing here, but these silver plate here, it's underneath the engine. That needs to come out. That way you can get access to all the headers. So those are like, I think 17s or 19s. And once you pull that piece, you'll be able to see the headers from the bottom. And we'll start with pulling the bolts on top. And we'll come down here, pull the bottom ones, and this is where the pipes connect. And it goes back that way. You can see I got a cat back on it. It's pretty loud already. I'm not looking forward to it being loud, but oh well.
Well, we got the plate off under the car, and it takes a 16 millimeter and a 8 millimeter. Usually the 8 millimeter ones are the smaller ones that connect to the plastic out from the bottom. And then you got your 16 that go all around. Hold on. And we'll give you a little view of the underneath right now.
All right, if this will work. Anyways, you can see the headers. They're exposed. There's your converters right there. So there's only gonna be a few bolts you're gonna have to open up from down here. Most of the bolts are gonna be done from the top, but I'm gonna loosen up this heat thing, this emission thing, a little bit before I start pulling the headers off, because the O2 sensors, I'm just gonna pull them off of the car. But like you can see the headers way better, and there's a few bolts you're gonna have to get to from the bottom. Other than that, that's about it. Those are 11 millimeter bolts that are held on, that hold the headers on. So we'll start from the top and work our way to the bottom. All right, we are at the top here, getting some of these bolts undone. Founder of Godzilla Army, Edis, decided
R35.
decided to join us and
Show them a little bit of magic.
Show us how it's done here on my quest for more horsepower, which with these headers, I don't think you're gonna gain much, because they're not long tube headers and they're not equal length headers. But you'll get rid of the converters, and once that's done, it'd be nice to get a tune. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm gonna make a dyno video of it before a tune, and then one after, to see what actual gain you get out of, let's say, headers, catback, and an intake on an E46. That way we have some numbers, see what happens. All right, everyone, you can see we got all the bolts out of there, out of the headers. There's 18 of them. Some came out the way they're supposed to, and some didn't. Some came out like this and some came out like that. Either way it works. If you want to buy new bolts, it's probably a good idea to do. You got a special order, and because of the thread is really fine on these, so you might have to wait a little bit or whatever. But anyways, mark the sensors, all the ones I pulled out. Just write down what it is, where it goes. That way you can have an easier time doing it. They're all colored, you know, there's numbers on them colored, but I just mark them. Some are green, some are blue, I mean yellow. Other than that, the headers are pretty much ready to come out. We had to do the bottom. You gotta pull out the exhaust flanges on the mufflers down here, as you can see. If I can get it right there. There's a few still in there, but it's a 14 millimeter on one side. Two of them have 14 millimeters on one side, on both sides, and one of them has a 14 millimeter on one side and a Torx on the other. So the two bottom ones, 14 millimeters on both sides, and the two top ones have a 14 millimeter nut and a Torx bit on there. So you're gonna have to have a few tools down there. And the piece that connects in between the headers, that goes onto this right here. It's like a vacuum something probably. That's a 17 millimeter. And I also got that apart too. So we're gonna pull the headers out and go from there. It was a little bitch. Some of them didn't want to come out from the bottom. We had to get them because we just couldn't get them from the top. So there was like 3 or 4 of them we had to get from the bottom.
And this tool actually helped a lot better to get to them.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of an angle to be able to clear.
You can get
spots to get into
them a little bit easier. So, but anyways, that's about it for now. We're gonna pull the headers and keep you all posted. Had to make sure we get these lower pipes disconnected from the cat back first. So we'll pull each one of them off slowly here. We had to heat it up, so we're waiting for it to cool down. And then we'll see what happens next. Alright, the headers out. I'm gonna clean up these spots over here with a little sandpaper. Get them somewhat smooth. Right here, front one, back one. Still gotta pull the O2 sensors off, and then we're gonna put them on these ones and see if they fit.
Make sure you clean the.
Yeah, we'll get it all cleaned up in there. And new gaskets, new everything. Hopefully stuff works out for us. Gotta use some heat. Heat them up, open up real easy. The gasket's gonna go on just a little bit, just so they make a better connection. We'll be able to put them on right now, and you're gonna need 2 guys to do this. One person has to guide them down there to put them on the mufflers, and one person has to put them up here. So 2 people for this job would be great. All right, got the headers on there. Still gotta put our gaskets in and bolt them up. Make sure you clean out these bottom pipes, that the stock ones, so you can put the gasket in there. That way you don't have any leaks. Other than that, we just have to put in the bolts up top, our gaskets, our O2 sensors, and put everything back together. So we'll keep you all posted on that. Alright, all the bolts seem to fit. This one right here, I had to shave it down a little bit so it can clear the headers. It's on the far back section all the way right there on the last one. And these other ones, they're all in there. We just gotta tighten them. Some of these are not gonna go all the way through. I think it's because of the gasket. It's a little thick, but I'm putting lock thread on all of them and tightening them. And after the gasket warms up, I'm probably gonna retighten them a little bit, and it should be okay. Other than that, they're in there. All the bolts lined up. They're fitting. Okay, not the best, but not the worst. Some of the bolts, like I said, they're not gonna go through all the way, but they have at least 5-6 threads before it touches the headers, so it might be all right. Like I said, putting lock thread on it, it'll probably be okay. And we'll see how it works. If anything, thinner gaskets might do the job, but I think after it's been ran and used a little bit, it'll work. It'll kind of thin out those gaskets. I'll tighten them a little bit more and it'll be all right. So we'll keep you all going on this, and once we get farther, we'll make another video. Out here, you can see that the headers are coming up from the top, and looks like they're touching just a little tiny bit right here. Well, they're not touching, but it's really close, a really close fitment. And I just bought new bolts and washers. You don't have to, but I just put different ones on. I also didn't put my second O2 sensors in because after the tune you won't need them. You can delete them out because there's no converter. So other than that, they fit fine. We'll see how they sound and go from there. Alright. Got everything back in place, in order. Headers are in, all buttoned up. Coolant reservoir is in. I deleted my secondary air pump. Still waiting on that plug right there to plug that. So for right now, I'm just gonna put it off to the side until I get the package and do that. And that's about it. She's down on the ground, looking good, not too bad. We'll see how it sounds once everything is put back together, and we'll keep you all posted. Alright, got the blade in. All those are 16 mils, and there's 3 8 millimeters that are on the plastic in the back there. Headers clear nicely, and it seems to be alright. Now everything is in. We just have to wait for our secondary air pump delete kit that's coming in. Other than that, that's it. To do with your coolant system, since most of your coolant came out, just flush it, add some coolant. Like I added some on here, and now it went down. Add some coolant, start it up, let it run a little bit, get to like operating temperature, shut it off, let it cool down, add some more coolant, and keep doing that until you're full and it doesn't go down anymore. So we're gonna add some coolant, then we'll start it back up, let it run for a little while, then we'll shut it off, let it cool down, and do the same thing again until it's full and it stays full. But that's about it. She's all done. I'm gonna take it for a spin, see how it sounds. Kind of loud, but should be alright.